Hello everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you. Young and Restless would have us believe that Victor beat the stuffing out of Matt Clark and then handed him over to the authorities to sit in prison for the rest of his life. But we know better. The last we saw Matt Clark, he had removed his rings in preparation to bare-knuckle brawl with the Black Knight. Victor, who had warmed up on the heavy bag, was looming over Matt in a scene fraught with tension. Not a word was spoken, and that was the end of the episode. But if 80-something Victor fighting Matt wasn't questionable enough, what came next was even more outlandish. Young and Restless viewers were stunned when it was revealed in passing conversation that Matt Clark was in jail. As we were all yelling, "What?" at our TV screens and devices, the characters in Genoa City simply accepted this as fact and carried on. Even more astonishing. Why? Well, we're getting to that. When was the last time you saw Victor Newman let law enforcement handle anything? Anything at all? You haven't, because he doesn't. In fact, he goes out of his way, and did so throughout this entire storyline, to keep the popo in the dark so he can see to it that the problem is eliminated on his terms. If Victor actually handed Matt over to the authorities and walked away, we'd be gobsmacked, not to mention sorely disappointed. What a lame, off-screen ending to this villain's return. There's been no big announcement about Roger Howarth concluding his arc, which makes us all the more certain there's more to this story and that we haven't seen the last of Matt Clark. If it turns out Matt actually is in jail, it will be a means to an end. Something will happen that will lead to him getting out. He does have a friend and associate who's a crooked cop. She could come in handy, but more likely, Nick's pill addiction will come into play. There's a reason he's sporting a leather jacket and a bad disposition lately, and it has everything to do with the little baggie of fentanyl he found in his pocket. Once Nick's doctor cuts him off of his prescription painkillers and he dips into the illicit drugs, if he hasn't already, it will be great news for Matt. Nick, we're predicting, will become so desperate to score more fentanyl once he's hooked that he'll go looking to make a deal with Clark. If Nick discovers he's not in jail, perhaps Victor has a dungeon in the new ranch. He'll find him and the troubles will start up again. No, we haven't seen the last of Matt Clark, SOEP as readers. It can't end like this. Matt Clark has always existed in the shadows of Genoa City, the kind of figure who never fully disappears, no matter how thoroughly the canvas seems to move on. His presence has been less about screen time and more about impact, a ripple that keeps resurfacing long after the initial splash. That is precisely why the idea that his story is finished feels impossible. The architecture of the Young and the Restless has never treated characters like Matt as disposable. Instead, it stores them like loaded weapons, carefully set aside until the narrative requires their particular brand of chaos. The first clue lies in the way the show has preserved his history rather than burying it. Genoa City has a habit of rewriting its past when it wants to seal a door shut. Certain villains fade into hazy recollection, their crimes softened or forgotten. Matt Clark has not received that mercy. His name still carries weight in the emotional memory of the town. Older grudges connected to him remain intact, especially within circles tied to Nick, Sharon, and the long tale of Cassie's tragedy. The writers continue to reference that era as a defining scar for multiple characters. A scar that prominent is narrative currency, and soap operas never waste currency. The show's recent storytelling patterns also suggest a renewed appetite for mining unresolved history. The Young and the Restless has been leaning heavily into legacy echoes, revisiting old conflicts and reactivating dormant tensions. Characters once thought permanently written out have returned with startling ease, often tied to long-simmering resentments or secrets that refuse to stay buried. In that environment, Matt Clark fits perfectly. He is not just a villain, he is a symbol of unfinished business. His arc was never about neat closure. It was about damage that spread outward, touching multiple families in ways that still shake their decisions. There is also the matter of thematic symmetry. The show cycles through eras defined by the sins of the past, crashing into the present. Right now, Genoa City is steeped in generational fallout. Parents are watching their children repeat old mistakes. Former rivals are forced into uneasy alliances. Atmosphere is thick with the sense that history is circling back. A character like Matt Clark is tailor-made for that tone. His return would not feel random. It would feel like the natural culmination of a story about consequences that refuse to expire. Production logic offers another layer of evidence. Soap operas are built on the efficiency of recognizable antagonists. Creating a new villain from scratch requires time, patience, and audience investment. Reviving an established threat delivers instant stakes. Matt Clark comes preloaded with emotional resonance. Viewers who remember his past would feel immediate tension, while newer audiences would quickly understand his menace through the reactions of legacy characters. That dual function makes him an attractive narrative tool. He bridges generations of viewers without demanding a lengthy setup. The psychological landscape of Genoa City has also shifted in a way that invites his reemergence. Several central characters are currently positioned in fragile emotional states. Trauma, guilt, and unresolved fear are recurring motifs. A villain who embodies past trauma would act as a catalyst, forcing characters to confront parts of themselves they have been avoiding. Matt Clark is not just an external threat. He is a mirror held up to their worst memories. His presence would test how much they have truly healed and how much they have merely buried. Another telling sign is the show's ongoing fascination with redemption and its limits. Recent arcs have explored whether people can genuinely change or whether darkness is an inescapable core trait. Matt Clark represents the extreme end of that question. Bringing him back would allow the writers to interrogate the idea of redemption from a harsher angle. Can someone with his history evolve, or is he destined to remain a force of destruction? That philosophical tension aligns with the show's current tone, which has been increasingly interested in moral gray zones. There is also a structural reason his story feels incomplete. His original exit lacked the kind of finality that soaps reserve for true endings. No definitive death, no irreversible exile. Just distance and silence. In the grammar of daytime drama, silence is an ellipsis, not a period. It signals that the character has moved offstage, not out of existence. The door remains ajar, and the longer it stays open, the more likely it is that someone will eventually walk back through it. The audience memory surrounding Matt Clark further supports the idea of his return. Soap fandom thrives on long-term emotional recall. Certain villains become mythic figures, their names shorthand for entire eras of storytelling. Matt occupies that space. He is part of the show's dark folklore. Writers understand the power of tapping into that collective memory. A comeback would not just be a plot twist. It would be an event, a deliberate summoning of the show's own haunted past. Genoa City itself functions like a character that rejects equilibrium. Whenever the town grows too stable, the narrative introduces an agent of disruption. Matt Clark is disruption incarnate. His reappearance would instantly fracture alliances, reopen wounds, and force characters into defensive postures. Stability would shatter, and from that chaos new storylines would bloom. That is the lifeblood of a long-running soap. Peace is temporary by design, and figures like Matt exist to enforce that rule. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our Young and Restless official news channel and stay with us.